I feel really good about where the election is right now. I feel as though maybe over the past few weeks, there's been a bit of a turn. I think there was a lot of enthusiasm when Vice President Harris was announced as the nominee of the party, and then things kind of settled down, as they often do. I think she had, a convention bump right after the convention, and I think things, kind of level set a bit. But I feel like over the last week or so, I really see a new sense of momentum. I think people that may have been on the fence, and I think, oftentimes they talk about swing voters in elections, and it's the swing voters that are deciding, between the two candidates. And I think, in this election, it's going to be decided by the swing voters that are deciding whether to vote or not to vote. And I think some of those swing voters are getting off the couch or coming off the fence, if you will, and deciding to come out for Vice President Harris. But it's definitely going to be a turnout game, and as a long time, political organizer before being elected to office, it all comes down to the ground game. The folks knocking doors, the folks making phone calls, sending text messages. I think that's what the race is going to come down to. And if it is going to come down to that, I do feel like Vice President Harris has the advantage in that area. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, I think it's a combination, of enthusiasm as well as anxiety, because I think the stakes are so much higher than it was when it was Obama McCain. People were excited, but I think people didn't feel like, democracy itself was on the ballot. They felt like there was this generational talent in the form of Senator Barack Obama was on the ballot. We had an opportunity to make history. History was on the ballot. But I think in this day and time, democracy itself is on the ballot. So I think there's an enthusiasm mixed with the anxiety, which I think is fueling people, to be even more active, and be out there knocking doors, like you said. Entire municipalities are being knocked. I know my district, is being knocked heavily. I'm getting text messages. I'm getting, mailers. There's been event after event after event. Celebrities are coming to town to rally folks. And I think that, you are right. It's a level of enthusiasm and intensity that I think, didn't necessarily exist even in 2008. I think because the stakes are so much higher. Yeah, I think the role of black and brown women, is really to take this election over the top. The level of enthusiasm of black and brown women, since the announcement of Vice President Harris being at the top of the ticket, has been overwhelming. You see it in the sororities, the African American sororities, being that Vice President Harris is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, but all of the black sororities have come out in full force, but also the black fraternities have come out. And I think it's very important, for black men in particular, to show, and I think it was said best by Fat Joe, the rapper Fat Joe, the Latino rapper Fat Joe, who was here a couple days ago. He said we have to show that we're man enough to vote for a woman. And I think that really encapsulates, this moment to show that we're man enough, to make history.